President-elect Donald Trump sending a clear message to China, Mexico, and Canada. Stop the drugs and illegal migration now or face new tariffs next year. The threat already sparking response from our trade partners. A spokesman for China's embassy in Washington saying, quote, "No one will win a trade war." Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau calling up Trump and vowing to work with him, while Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum is agreeing to take action against migrant caravans, but she's also threatening her own retaliatory tariffs. Meanwhile, Texas Governor Greg Abbott and incoming border czar Tom Homan met in Eagle Pass, Texas this week, sending a warning to U.S. cities who might stand in the way of border security.
Don't cross that line. It is a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. Don't test us. The nation wants a safe country. We're not waiting till January. We're already talking. We're already planning. We're going to put a plan in place and secure this nation at the highest level it's ever seen.
This, as we saw more shocking video of unaccompanied migrant children, some as young as 2 years old, arriving at our southern border completely alone. Here to react is Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy. He's the top Republican on the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committees that released a scathing report accusing the Biden-Harris administration of failing to secure the border, leading to the exploitation of migrant children. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. What can you do about this? Do you believe that Trump's warnings will move the needle?
Absolutely, I think they'll move the needle. Just to speak a little bit about the report, we all know the Biden-Harris administration, 10 million people crossed the border illegally. They got overwhelmed with the number of unaccompanied minors. Now, the fact that a 2-year-old is unaccompanied, that's not true. But still, somehow it comes across as unaccompanied. And they just at some point were so overwhelmed, they just began to process people without actually vetting the sponsors that they were releasing the child to. Some of the children were exploited, either in hazardous working conditions or sexually exploited. Some of the contractors hired people who abused the children while they were under their care. Unfortunately, neither the people abusing nor the contractors were fired or lost a contract. I expect all that to change under the Trump administration. It should change every piece of that, controlling the border as well as how the children are handled once they're in our custody.
I mean, it's so disturbing to see a 2-year-old and we don't know who she's with and what she's doing. Is it fair to say that it's likely that the drug cartels put her in place to cross the border? Somebody's watching where she is, right? Is it the drug cartels?
You know, I don't quite understand the dynamic there, but clearly the drug cartels are involved with human trafficking. When I went down to the Border Patrol said, oh, yeah, they'll rush a lot of people over here. They'll attract our agents to go get the folks crossing the border, and then they will use that moment to run drugs further up or further down the river. And so they are coordinating the trafficking of people with the trafficking of drugs, and they're making money from both.
Right.
So
yeah.
To go after the illegal immigration is to go after the drug cartels in another manner, and that's something we have to do.
Let me ask you about Trump's other policies. And, of course, he's readying plans to what he calls drill, baby, drill, with his team putting out a new proposal to boost LNG exports, fast-track oil drilling permits, reverse Biden-era restrictions, and revive the Keystone XL pipeline. Well, this is certainly impacting your state as well. How do you see this playing out, Senator?
I think it's a great idea. We should have a policy of abundance where we take the abundance of America's natural resources, the abundance of our economy, the productivity of our workers, and we create a better life for all. Now using our natural gas and our oil resources is part of that. And by the way, when we use American oil and American natural gas, we produce that in the most environmentally clean way than anybody around the world. If you take oil coming from off the coast of Louisiana, coming to our shore for refining, it has the lowest carbon intensity of any product that comes to our shore. And so I agree with the president. It's going to create a lot of good American jobs. It's going to boost our economy, boost our national security, and boost the national security of our allies. I think he hits a home run on that one.
What's your take on the tax cuts and extending the tax cuts? Is that going to happen through reconciliation, and do you expect that to be a 2025 priority? I
do. I think that the fact that we could use America's natural resources and its abundance to help offset is good. We've got a debt and deficit problem. And
Right.
so if we just fully extend and do nothing, that's going to be in the trillions and trillions of dollars. We don't want that. So let's use our abundance and let's use some of our trade policy to offset. We do that, we get the tax cuts, but we also get the abundance.
Well, how worried are you about the impact of tariffs? President Trump is already, sending messages to China, Mexico, and Canada. Do you believe that these tariffs will help growth, or do you expect that we could have an issue with regard to inflation, making prices higher for Americans?
Well, one thing I've been proposing is what I call a foreign pollution fee, and some in the administration have similarly advocated for it. Right now, China does not enforce its environmental laws. They let their pollutants go into the atmosphere where it blows over onto the United States. It lowers their cost of manufacturing by 20%. That lower cost attracts our jobs, our manufacturers, to go to China. That's wrong. So I think that we should put a fee on their goods roughly equal to what they're not spending to control their pollutants. So what they're not spending, put that fee, levels the playing field, makes it more likely jobs come back to the U.S., our workers do better, our economy does better.
Okay.
It's a tariff, but we're already paying for this. We're paying for all the pollution control that we have to put in place because of their pollution.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll be watching that then. Meanwhile, a new poll shows that nearly 60% of Americans approve of President Trump's handling of the transition. He is stacking his cabinet in record speed. What are you hearing in terms of the upcoming confirmations? Will the Senate move forward with Trump's nominees?
I think most of them will, if not all of them. I mean, obviously, I've not seen any reports on anybody, but I anticipate that they will. The president will have his way with, most, if not all. But you want to get the reports. The American people expect the Senate to do their due diligence, and that will give greater faith in who these people are. But Marco Rubio, not going to have a problem. Jameson Greer, who's just been USTR nominee. Great, impeccable sort of credentials. So I expect we'll see more of that.
Well, what about the others? What about Pete Hegseth? What about Tulsi Gabbard?
Those aren't before my committee, so I haven't paid attention to them as much. Defense Committee and Intel will have something to weigh in. I just haven't paid attention to those. Those are not before me right now. I think you just got to congratulate the folks. They had actually contacted the committee that I'll be the chair of like a month before the election, getting ready for the transition. So they knew what they were doing. They're getting their picks in place. They'll hit the ground running. We'll have hearings possibly on some of these nominees before he's inaugurated. And so hopefully his government's in place, his assistants are in place as soon as possible. Let's just start making America great again. So
do you expect the hearings to start when you all come back in January? Or is it January 6th?
I don't know if it'll be that quick. There will be some organizational time, but I can see the hearings beginning before he's actually inaugurated.
So you think he'll have a team in place to hit the ground running January 20th?
Maybe not January 20th, but I hopefully by February 14th. Congress never works quite that fast.
Right. Senator, it's great to have you this weekend. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Maria.
All right. We'll see you soon. Happy Thanksgiving weekend to you. Bill Cassidy joining us.